Hey everybody, this is the Bentley and Maniwa Variety Show. This week it's just myself, Reed Bentley, and Pro Wrestling's BFF, Nick Maniwa. We don't have a guest this week, so it's just going to be an hour plus of us talking, and you get to hear our wonderful voices.
Woo!
Yeah, so this is going to be it. We had a lot of fun recording this one, so hope you enjoy.
We don't need an intro for this one.
Oh, we're not going to do an intro? Whatever, let's just keep this. No, it's fine. This is clearly, we have a high production rate on our show.
Yeah.
Our run sheet was, incorrect. I thought we were doing an intro. But anyway, we got a lot of good questions this week. We had a bunch submitted to us on everything, honestly, like Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. Somebody commented on just about everything. So one of the best ones I thought was what the absolute best live match we've ever seen was.
Right.
I really like that one. I think that's interesting. What about you? I'll let you start.
Okay. My favorite live match that I've ever seen was Samoa Joe versus Necro Butcher at the ECW arena. The crowd was just electric, and I got to watch it from the balcony, so I could see everything that happened. I could see Necro's face hit the concrete as he took the exploder.
Absolutely disgusting. Hands down, the grossest. I mean, next to like Mitch Page clock incident, which we talked about last week, grossest thing I've ever seen.
I got to see him take the power slam on his face.
Ugh.
Everything. I got to see the blood just fly off of his hair and his face as Joe slapped him.
Pour out. It literally just. Ugh.
And the crowd added to that match so much, and that's got to be my absolute best favorite match. I've seen a lot of awesome matches with IWA and the random indie shows. I got to see Loki and Necro, and that was another awesome match with an awesome crowd. But definitely it has to be Joe and Necro at the ECW arena in 2005.
And that was the first IWA show on the East Coast.
The first one, my first time ever being in the ECW arena, and you hear all the stories, and you go in and it's just a building. It's a building with shitty bathrooms and nothing special, but it was, it's the Mecca. It was the Mecca before it shut down. That's where everyone wanted to run. That's where awesome stuff happened,
Yeah, I've heard that it's coming back. I mean, I heard early, like very early this year, like January, February.
They had the ECW Barbary City film review. Yeah, a film premiere at the arena.
They
had to do that, or they did that there. They had to bring in porta potties and all that stuff because everything got taken out. It's just like an empty building now. There's nothing that looks like
the ECW. Not using it for anything, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They were gonna make it like I don't know a lot about it. Joanna Pang or whatever bought it, and they didn't want wrestling in there, and they tore everything down. And she couldn't get the rights or whatever to
do what she wanted.
Okay. So, and now they're gonna hopefully do wrestling in there again.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Hopefully, as far as my best live match I've ever seen goes, it would have to be 2009. It was the Final Countdown tour, Dayton, Ohio. Chris Hero versus Bryan Danielson. Hands down, for me, probably the two biggest like indie wrestling influences on me. Two of my absolute most favorite guys. This was I think September of 2009. So I had not started training yet. I had just moved a couple of months before that to Louisville, Kentucky. Did not know Nick Maniwa yet. I was a few months shy from the first time setting foot in a ring and starting to quote unquote get trained. And it was crazy. It was the same thing. Electric feel. People knew this is the last time.
You went to that show by yourself?
Yeah, I went to that
show by yourself.
Yeah, I went to that show all by myself. Actually, no, my cousin Dalton, like my brother, might as well be my blood brother, my other absolute best friend in the world, along with Nick Maniwa. I'm pretty sure that was like the last one that Jess Beesneys has just raced up off of her laying spot and just given me the dirtiest look in the world for not including her. So fuck you, Jess. Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure that was the last one they met me for. It was Survival of the Fittest '09 that I went to by myself. So yeah, they came and met me for that one. I think I that was his birthday present that year. I bought him tickets. We were there front row. Honestly, I think we might have been second row, but every time at Ring of Honor I've ever went, someone didn't show up in front of me for those, $50, $60 front row seats. So we just moved on up. Everybody knew that was the last time they were going to see Danielson in that building. That crowd, that area, that was the last time they were going to see him for Ring of Honor, potentially their last, experience ever seeing him live, because they might not be able to afford WWE tickets, or they might not. It was the last indie experience they were going to get, and it was awesome. He did a super long autograph signing, like before the show. I was there. I think I worked that day, I had classes. This when I was actually, a productive member of society, and I was going to college. The minute I got out of class, I hit the road, drove all the way to Dayton, Ohio, set in some terrible Ohio traffic as always. Went up to him, introduced myself. I got a picture. It was like one of the last times I ever bought like 8x10s off of someone. I got an 8x10, got it signed, bought the Final Countdown Bryan Danielson DVD. He took minutes out of everyone signing to talk to each person I talked to him and told him I was going to start wrestling. He gave me all kinds of advice. He gave me the usual spiel that I give everybody these days when they ask me about getting in wrestling of stay in school. You're not going to make any money at it. There's a very good chance it's not going to work out. So all advice, which I, ignored, and I am where I am today. So, Bryan Danielson, if they're out there, you tried. I'll give you credit. You tried to keep me out of this business. But, it was crazy. Best match I've ever seen live. It was awesome.
That question was from Brian Vincent. Big B, best dude.
Yeah, hashtag team best dude.
That was a really good question. I really enjoyed it. Another question he asked was he wanted to talk before IWA Mid-South came back to this area. He wanted to talk about the drastic decline in the in-ring action of this area.
He basically wants us to talk about how it's the drizzling shits around here.
And, people are going to say we're biased towards IWA because we worked there. We grew up there. I obviously family in IWA, but, when IWA's on, is it on?
Yeah, when Ian is on, Ian is on. When he has a steady crowd, a steady roster of guys, he knows what's going to happen. He knows who's going to be there. He's not running, for 14 people with sporadic roster changes in, the Rape Factory in Bellevue. That's he's on fire. He can't be stopped when he has, consistent booking, consistent guys. That's something that both of us stand by. It's Brian Vincent made a great point. It's no exaggeration. Wrestling around here, short of IWA now that it's back, is just absolutely terrible.
There's some shows with some good guys on it.
Yeah.
There may be 3 or 4 good matches on a show. I just went to a crappy show a couple weeks ago, and I usually live tweet. People enjoy me cracking jokes and making fun of these guys playing wrestler and stuff like that. But there was 2 or 3. Actually, there was 4 matches on the show that were pretty good, and that I had to give my props to the show. And
that's solely, from what the matches you told me about. It was solely because of the guys involved. It wasn't the booking. It wasn't that anything on the show made sense. Because it's like you were telling me, Larry D, guy I've wrestled, he's really awesome. He's a Kentucky guy. He does a lot of stuff around here. He doesn't really get out of Kentucky, Tennessee too much, but he's really awesome. He's a good Memphis, getting heat style heel, a good, easy Memphis babyface. He wrestled, who did he wrestle?
Ricky Chevy,
a close personal friend of the Bentley Maniwa variety show. Shout out to Ricky Chevy. They did, what was it, pile driver on the floor on a chair?
On a chair, because Ricky Chevy is having a baby soon, and this was his last match. He was ready to call it quits and be a daddy. So he was doing his retirement speech. Larry D had to come out, ruin it, call him a punk ass for leaving wrestling, and then attacked him, gave him a power driver on the chair, on the floor. Little kids were crying. People were, another bunch of little kids were threatening to jump Larry D in the parking lot. These kids were 4 and 5 years old, and they're like, "Let's go get him in the parking lot." And you don't see stuff like that nowadays.
Yeah.
And props to Larry D and Ricky Chevy, and
Yeah, it was emotional. Like, that was really good. That sounds like that's the high point of the show, and then it immediately goes into some terrible shitfest.
Yeah, 2 bad guys in the same stable wrestling each other in just a match that happened, and that's all I'm sure of that went down. It was a match that happened.
Yeah.
And
it did occur. Like, it physically took place, but there was no sense. There was no, just the booking, things around here, just people don't get it. Like, this area.
People just think, like, well, I have extra money, I know this guy that knows a building guy. I can run a show, and I can run it off my SSI,
Yeah.
and whatever. And people just think it's that I can run a wrestling show, and kudos to them. I don't have expendable money to run a wrestling show. I'm sad that I don't.
Yeah.
Because I would run a wrestling show every day of the week if I could. If I could afford it, I would have a wrestling show going on right now as this podcast was going on.
Yeah, there would be guys falling on their heads right next to us, but unfortunately for us, we don't have that kind of money.
I've been looking at my tweets and in my Facebook to see, how many shows I've gone to this year. And boy, have I gone to some crappy shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am a 40-miler, as they say in wrestling. I try not to travel farther than 45 minutes to go to a show, just because.
Yeah.
I grew up around IWA and IWA, so.
You almost failed high school because of how much you were on the road with IWA.
There would be weeks where I would miss Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Be on the road Saturday and Sunday, and probably miss Monday as well. I think in my whole high school career, I missed all 4 years. I missed something ridiculous, 172 days in all 4 years.
That's like a quarter of every year. That's 40% almost of every school year.
Just from there's a show in Muscatine, Iowa. You want to go? Well, I guess I have to because I'm doing sound. Okay, Mom, I'm not going to school. And my mom was cool with it. She would write notes and stuff, but. Man, I couldn't tell you how to do any type of algebra or geometry.
He can tell you who Sexy Chucky Smooth wrestled in 2001 in Charlestown, Indiana, but if you ask him the Pythagorean theorem...
Yeah, is that someone's finisher or something?
Yeah, that's our life.
But, indie wrestling around here, besides IWA, like I said, there is some good stuff every now and then, but most of the time it is just not good.
There's just such a stigma around here. Like, Southern Indiana and Kentucky has so many of these quote-unquote vets, guys who have been doing it for quote-unquote 15 years, and they've had...
doing it for 15 years, meaning once a month in the same building.
Taking Christmas off, of course, so, they have 10 or 11 matches a year. Dudes who have 40 or 50 matches under their belts call themselves 15-year vets, and it's just, they don't get it, they don't understand. They've wrestled in front of the same crowd next to their trailer park, in front of their pastor. It's just, there's nothing good, there's nothing positive around here.
So, thanks to Brian Vincent for that question as well.
Yep.
The other one he had was just talking about the rich history of indie wrestling, which we kind of did with IWA.
Yeah, that was kind of...
When Paul...
And, USWA, too.
USWA, when I was a kid, we got that on the local Louisville Wave 3 station, and I would watch that over WWE or WWF at the time.
Yeah.
Just because USWA was my shit.
Yeah.
I used to go to shows with my sisters and her friend, and just take in everything USWA, and USWA was awesome. OVW, when Paul Heyman was in charge, was
awesome.
Incredible. It gets a lot of hype because, Paul was booking or whatever, but...
And a thing I didn't know until, we watched the Punk DVD, I didn't realize what, an integral role Punk had at that time, too, that he was actually helping Paul book.
Yeah, I heard from someone that Punk and Brent Albright and Paul were the ones doing the show, and sometimes Paul would let them do whatever they wanted in terms of writing the stuff and stuff like that. So
Brent Gunner Scott Albright, whatever the hell your name is.
I heard he lives in Oklahoma now, and he cuts grass.
That's a travesty.
Someone
No pun intended.
Someone told me that, but yeah, just USWA when it was hot, but when IWA came around, USWA was going down.
Yeah.
And it was kind of awesome in terms of it was like WCW, WWF, where people were jumping ship. You would see them on, I think it was Tuesday at the Gardens, and then Thursday at Dixie Highway at the old Kmart building, and people were like losing their shit. Ian took PG-13, Doug Gilbert, Tommy Rich, Dean Hill, Kenny Bolin, Tracy Smothers, who was going back and forth, Jason Lee, who was like an awesome cruiserweight guy, Flash Flanagan, like literally.
Jason Lee was awesome.
Yeah, literally everyone was coming to IWA because IWA was doing 400 people every week in the Derby Sports Arena.
Every week, literally every single week.
And IWA was the ECW at the time.
Yeah,
it was just so hot. The death matches. And using cruiserweights like Tarek and Kickboxer, and them just killing themselves every week. Just crazy. He would bring in names like Ted Petty, Rocco Rock, Pitbulls, just crazy stuff that wasn't happening at USWA.
Everything was a mix. It really was like it was Southern Fried ECW. Like you had a mix of everything. You had technical, you had high flying, you had hardcore, you had everything. And especially with like USWA going down, it really was very much that like WCW, everything, jumping ship,
And even The Rock at the time was in USWA as Flex Cavana, but people were tired of that Memphis type of wrestling, and people are tired of it now, and that's what's in this area still, and it's sad that people can't see that people don't want that anymore.
Well, it's more sad that people can't take the good aspects of, I'm a person, I love wrestling, all of it, hands down, good, bad, old, new. I like everything. You can take a little bit of something. You can take the good, guys need to watch Memphis wrestling to learn how to draw heat, things like that. You can take a little bit of everything from each type or each old school style of wrestling, but you can't do all Memphis.
Yeah, you gotta mix it up. You gotta make it new. You can't just do the same stuff. You can't just copy Jerry Lawler. Obviously that worked in '83, but it's not gonna work in 2003.
I mean, it's tough. It's like Ring of Honor these days. Ring of Honor used to be this place where in 2003 you could watch the Christopher Street Connection, then you'd see the Carnage Crew, then you'd see Amazing Red, then you'd see Bryan Danielson put on a technical contest. You would literally see 6, 7 totally different matches.
Right.
Every match was its own show. Nowadays, everything is, American Strong style. Everything's 100% which is great. That's another type of wrestling I like. I like the guys that do it, but you can't have 8 matches in a row of guys who look the same and do all the same stuff and wrestle the same way.
It's just like a robot factory, pretty much.
Yeah, it's all just, you can't have all the same type of stuff. At least not in my opinion, but what do I know? Like I said, I don't have a wrestling show, so.
We sadly do not read Bentley. Shout outs again to Brian Vincent for those questions.
Speaking of another thing, speaking of 2003 Ring of Honor, another, I didn't get to see it live, but I was just thinking about it today, the first indie match that made me, fall in love with wrestling, because obviously I didn't get to grow up at IWA shows. I discovered indies in, 2001, because I was,
how old?
9, 10. 10 years old. I found it because of, PWI and, The Wrestler, magazines. Yeah, magazines like that. And started buying almanacs and stuff like that. And Bryan Danielson versus AJ Styles, Main Event Spectacles, 2003. That was the first indie match that made me just, oh man, well I'm gonna start. This is my new shit. I like this. I don't want to watch, WWE anymore. I obviously still did. I was the type of person who'd literally, I would buy $3 gas station wrestling DVDs that had The Miz on it from 2002 when he was before he was
UPW
on, before he was even on Real World and shit. Because I just loved wrestling, but that was the first thing that made me really realize this is a totally different monster. I want to do this. This is I want to be this kind of a wrestler.
Right.
But that was what was that for you? What was your first, like,
Well, see,
once
like,
IWA started up, what was your first thing? Because, I mean, you were smartened up at a really young age.
yeah, like I knew, how, like, I never, like, I want to say I never thought wrestling was quote unquote real because I had been around it literally my whole life. My sister Patty sold gimmicks for guys at USWA, so I went to Louisville Gardens when I was just an infant and had watched shows my whole life, but I can't really think of, the big thing IWA, obviously was the death matches. So like, I had never seen, when Ian moved down here, him and Axel, were doing hot stuff in ECW, doing first ever Taipei, first ever,
Barbed
bat, all this stuff. So when IWA brought that to this area, I was just like, that was my new favorite wrestling because I had never seen it before,
Mm-hmm.
Ian and Pondo would wrestle every week. They would fans bring the weapons. Someone brought a giant TV once.
Yeah.
And Ian like powerbombed Pondo through it, and I was freaking out.
You had your Ian Rotten shirt and your Ian Rotten undercut. You bleached your hair out.
I went as Ian Rotten for Halloween once.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought you did that.
And an old lady was like, "What's your shirt say? Jan Rotten." That's
the new hotness. That's the new.
That's a true story.
That's the new IWA female protege coming up here, Jan Rotten. Literally, not 10 feet away from where we are in the next room over, there's a giant hole where Ian Rotten German suplexed.
No, just a snap suplex.
Oh, snap suplex?
Yeah.
Okay.
He probably would have killed me if it was a German suplex. But I can't really think of any, like, I got to see Reckless Youth, which a lot of people did not get to see.
And you have Best of Reckless Youth, like VHS comp, right?
VHS comp from Rich Wayne the Mayor. But I got to see Reckless Youth in 1997, 1998, right when he was like blowing up. I guess he was blowing up before that, but he was right before he got signed to MCW or WWE Developmental.
Yeah.
And went down to Memphis, but I got to see him a couple times from IWA. He was the best. I don't know how else to put it. He was that indie dude.
Yeah.
And
he was like, I think Cabana might have said it on the Art of Wrestling deal. He's like the granddaddy of indie wrestling.
Right.
He was like the first guy to do it big like that.
Right. And it's a shame that, he didn't get his break like he deserved.
It's a shame that he's like so far away removed from wrestling right now. Like I was there at National Pro Wrestling Day, and like Cabana was on him all day, like white on rice. Like, I gotta get this podcast in,
Right.
Like Reckless is just so far removed from even caring about wrestling. He just literally, like, it does nothing for him anymore, which is sad.
Ian did try to get him in TPI this year.
Yeah, he did.
And that would have been so freaking sweet. But,
yeah.
I think he did, like, a commish deal with the Fed in PA, like, a couple of years ago, but he hasn't wrestled in so long. I think Quack tried to do a couple Black T-shirt squad reunions for King of Trios, and it just never worked out.
Yeah.
Which is sad because, especially at King of Trios, that would have been insane. You know what I mean? But it's sad that didn't work out. But yeah, I can't think of any one match. I got to see, Suicide Kid and Tarek and Kickboxer.
What was the first thing you remember? What's the first match that, like, out of IWA or USWA, anything? What's, like, the first match you remember that was like, oh.
See, I can't. The first memory, one of the first memories I have in life is someone jumping PG-13 and the baby faces running them off. And I recreated that with my wrestling buddy a million times as a kid. That's seriously one of the first memories I have in life. But I can't even think of an awesome match. I didn't, even when I was a younger kid, I didn't care about technical wrestling and stuff like that. Yeah. I knew that
you just want a good guy, bad guy.
Yeah, I knew that Chip Fairway and Suicide Kid were tearing it up because the crowd was going crazy. But I didn't appreciate it as much as I did. In Charlestown, Indiana, every Wednesday and Saturday, I got to see people like CM Punk and Colt Cabana learn how to be themselves and learn how to wrestle. And I got to see Tracy Smothers every week. So there was months where I would see 8 wrestling shows, maybe 9 wrestling shows a month. Yeah. Just from going to IWA.
Yeah, just 30 minutes away from your house, not even having to travel.
In a shitty-ass barn.
Yeah, that still stands to this day.
With I think it has like tractors and stuff in front of it.
And still isn't properly zoned because it is literally just a barn. Which, I mean, speaking of barns, we've got SHW on here. Do we want to?
Yeah, I think Sack Daddy.
Yeah, good old Sack Daddy. Anthony,
you want to tell the story of what what happened with Sack Daddy first? Why he is Sack Daddy?
Well, what was it? Not last week, but week before, right?
Right.
We did a little show called Evolution Pro in Clarksville.
If you have nothing to do on Thursdays when they run shows, you should come out because they are a lot of fun. Sadly, the last show had no turnout at all.
Absolutely not. There was maybe 5 paid. They brought Michael Elgin in, but he was a surprise. Right. He was not announced. So, they're trying to give you never know what's going to happen at EPW feel, which doesn't really work right now when you don't have a following yet. But they're trying. They're trying to do some stuff. It's a fun place, like you said, to go on Thursdays. Clarksville, Indiana. 15 jammers, Lynch Lane, as Ricky Chevy would say. It's a fun show. We were there. I wrestled a guy named Jordan Cage, who is a Kentucky guy. Some call him the best in Kentucky. That's only because I don't wrestle in Kentucky anymore. We had
high on yourself.
Yeah, very high on myself. That was gonna be the promo I cut, but then there was no microphone that I saw, so I just didn't cut a promo. That's what I was gonna say though. And we had a fun little match. Donna was there. If you know anything about wrestling in this area, you know who Donna is. She's at literally every wrestling show. She was fun to play with, and did some stuff. Whatever. We had the match. What was it? I won deviously with pulled tights, I believe.
That showed his whole ass.
His whole ass. He demanded that we did not put the footage on YouTube, and Nick Maniwa, being the good guy he is, actually clipped it. Clipped the footage. I was not going to. I was going to put it up because, whatever. Butts are fine.
Butts are like my family.
Butts is like my family. Booty smells good, though. If you guys want to be official sponsor of the Bentley and Maniwa Variety Show, we'll take it.
Sponsored by Butts.
Sponsored by BSGD. And after the match, in the course of the match, I took a Scott Lost dubstep, whatever you want to call it, run in, get double stomped in the corner. And when he did it, it was notoriously close to my lower nutsack region. So as I got up and I got attacked repeatedly, I had to run around defending myself with one hand. And had the other hand in my balls for the course of the match. Once it was over, I won with the deviously pulled tights, got out, celebrated, went over, and Shaq Daddy, a.k.a. Sack Daddy now,
from the IWA Pro-Am and Best of Backyard Wrestling 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, also from SHW fame.
Also from Spinelli's downtown.
Yes, he is a big thing in Louisville.
Literally, he's a big thing.
Yeah, he's a tall guy. He's a big dude. Not as big anymore. Shaq Daddy's lost like 50 pounds. He's looking real good. Raised my hand in victory, as another friend of ours, Dusty, goaded him into doing. And when he raised my good hand, I took my other hand out of my trunks and rubbed my ball sweat in his face and on his mouth. He proceeded to run all the way to the back of the building, to the bathroom, screaming, "It got in my mouth! It got in my mouth!" So that's why he's now Sack Daddy.
But he wants us to talk about SHW, which if you listen to Not That Tom Green's podcast, he did talk about it once on the Mike and Tom, the original Mike and Tom, not whatever
it is now.
Whatever it is now.
Terrible shit. SHW, that kind of gets into what we want to move on to next week, which is Bentley and Maniwa history of our friendship, me starting out in wrestling. So this is kind of be a sneak peek of that.
A teaser, if you will.
Yeah, going back to when I was, that time frame I was referencing, September of 2009, when I went to that Final Countdown show. Right around that time, that was my freshman year, first semester of college. I was working at Sam's Club at the time. Shout out to the Walmart Corporation for giving me employment. And I already knew, the reason I moved to Louisville, the reason I took the scholarship to U of L was not because I wanted to be an engineer or because I wanted to, go to college, it was because I knew there was wrestling out here.
Because you are originally from?
Originally from Pikeville, Kentucky, from
Which
the
is-
mountains, far, far eastern Kentucky, hillbilly country.
Yeah, where Jim Cornette used to run shows.
Yeah, where literally Smoky Mountain ran right downtown, like in the Pikeville High School.
And that was like all that used to run there. Like there's no
Yeah.
wrestling there, right?
Like back when nobody in my family was into wrestling other than my cousin. Like me and Dalton and his little brother Dustin, once he was born, we were the ones that liked wrestling. Nobody else was into it. Like Dalton's dad, my Uncle Charles, he was the guy who would take us to shows. He liked wrestling. But like nobody followed indie wrestling around there. Nobody back in the day, like they didn't know Smoky Mountain was going on. We had no idea. I was 2 and 3 years
Right.
old when Candido and them were in there having these like, I used to have these crazy ladder match shows that I like found flyers and stuff for. It was wild. And when I was like 10 years old, we moved to Georgetown, Kentucky, which is right outside of Lexington, because my dad got a new job. So when I graduated high school from Georgetown, I already knew about the athletic commission and stuff. I knew that I had to have a license. I didn't know like everything about the deal. But I knew where I was at, I had absolutely no chance of breaking in. I had no chance of meeting anyone and getting into wrestling. So I took a scholarship to the University of Louisville, moved out here, started working at Sam's Club, and oddly enough, we were folding clothes at the end of the night, which I never understood. I don't know why Sam's Club, a wholesale store that sells like gallons of lard, sells clothing, but whatever they do. And that was the last thing you did at the end of the night. And I was talking
You folded all the clothes that people ruined during
yeah,
the
that
day.
they would literally just come through and I want to look at this one shirt, rip the whole pile up, and just throw it back down. Just mounds of clothes.
Right.
I was talking to a girl named Hannah. She was asking, like, what are you doing out here? You go to school? I was like, yeah, I just moved out here. I go to college, but, I really want to be a professional wrestler. And she was like, oh, no way. My boyfriend is a professional wrestler.
What are the odds?
Yeah, like, what are the odds? And I was like, oh, man, this is
Serendipity.
yeah, it was a meeting of the minds. I was so excited. And she said,
her boyfriend's not Triple H or anything.
No,
anything like that.
This was not like Stephanie McMahon disguised as like blue collar working girl. She's like, it's Adam, the guy. You see him drive a forklift. He works here too. I was like, oh, the guy with the crazy hair. He is also of IWA Pro-Am ring rental fame.
Ring rental fame, yeah.
Yeah.
He broke his arm at a ring rental once.
Yeah. He was actually trained with Ian for a while, and then he was doing ring rentals against Ian's advice and ended up breaking his arm, and he didn't finish training. He took a few years off, and he did like these shows. And he was like, yeah, I don't really do much anymore these days. I've been going out to this place called SHW, which was like a deathmatch fed.
Grimy deathmatch.
Yeah, it was morbid match.
How we did not die in that building. How the whole building did not come down on top of us.
He's literally not exaggerating because when you get to this building, the ring is built into the barn. 2 of the support beams in the middle of the barn.
The pole barn.
Yeah, are the ring post. So it is built and manufactured around that.
And
notoriously high ropes. I'm 5'10". I'm not the tallest guy, but I'm not the shortest. And these ropes hit me in the back of the neck. It is 100% manufactured.
And the posts are anchored to the wall of the barn.
Yeah, on the other side.
So,
yeah, it was weird too because this was in the dying days of MySpace. The guy that ran SHW, I guess, was looking anyone in the Louisville area. He was doing, searches for anyone that had wrestling on their profile. He had added me as a friend, and SHW, Strictly Hardcore Wrestling, as they are known, added me as a friend. This was a few weeks before I was talking to Hannah and Adam, and I had been discussing to him, about getting trained because, I had no idea how bad it was. I had no idea that all of them were untrained. But I knew that whatever, if I've got to give this guy $50, $100, $200 to let me use his ring, I'll do it, and I'll teach myself, how to bomb.
But you thought it was a professional ring.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Before you,
because
let's get your thoughts when you pull up into the yard of sick and insane
Well,
Kyle Cobain. you pull
it takes a good 35 minutes to get to Corydon, Indiana.
Right, and you got to go past the Tyson Chicken Factory. You got to go past all this stuff, and you're looking for,
a building.
Indie wrestling runs in crazy places, community centers,
high school,
churches.
Yeah.
You're looking for a building, and you just start seeing signs: SHW this way, SHW fucking 1 mile.
It's like it's fall, and you're going to find
like
a haunted trail,
like a corn maze.
Yeah, you're about to go on a hayride, and Jeepers Creepers, Jeepers Creepers 4 is getting set up. Like you're literally driving to your death.
They live in the house next to the pole barn.
Yeah, it's literally in his yard.
No, I want your thoughts of you pull into the giant lot that their property is on, the SHW arena as it's,
my first initial thought
as you walk in and you see this homemade ring with garden hoses for ropes.
my very first thought was, God damn, that's an unhealthy amount of cats. Because
they do have a lot of cats. Just hanging out.
Like 40 to 50 of them. That's no exaggeration. My next thought when entering the barn was, I'm probably going to die here tonight. This is where my wrestling career stops because this place is coming down. Literally, like I said, it's built. The ring is built into it. I was just regretful that I was there. Tragic and devastating.
I think everyone at first glimpse is like, Mitch Page of episode 1 looked at me as we walked into the SHW arena with $1.50 bologna sandwiches at the concession stand and said, "What the fuck have you gotten me into? This is Mean Mitch Page that has done everything. He's eaten pages out of a Bible at a King of the Deathmatch tournament. He's done everything, and he's looking at me like, where the fuck am I?
Yeah, he was offended. Tragically bad, devastatingly terrible. But yeah, it was weird how everything worked out. 6 degrees of Reed Bentley. So
let's talk about your initial training. Was there any training at SHW?
No. This was like time frame wise. Like he had hit me up online. I was emailing back and forth with him, and he was telling me Kyle Cobain was Kyle Hunchman of IWA training.
IWA training fame, IWA front row fame for all the Charlestown and Clarksville shows.
Literally, you can see him and his mom. It's really funny going back and seeing like all these people that we know through indie wrestling that used to go to shows.
Right.
I was emailing him, like trying to figure out something. He's like, yeah, we're taking a month off for this, but we'll start training back up at this time. A few weeks later, I meet Hannah and Adam. They tell me, we're going to SHW, but we're also going out to this LCW place. We're helping this guy out a little bit. The way they set it up to me is, dude is running his own show. He has cerebral palsy. Like we're trying to help him out. Like he hasn't ran a show yet, but he has a building. Like he worked a deal out with the commission in Kentucky to where he could have like a training center almost, where he could keep his ring set up as long as he wasn't running shows. Because initially what happened, LCW was running backyard shows.
In Kentucky.
In Kentucky, which isn't allowed. You have to have, you have to have a license. You have to have all kinds of
But they had like the ring set up and everything.
Had fans.
Which you can't. You can backyard wrestle all you fucking want.
Yeah. Well, because the state's got to make their money. They got to get their cut off the ticket prices, of course.
So, but people were coming in, buying a ticket.
Yeah.
Guys were not being licensed.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So. They finally got a building.
Rather than forcing these guys to get trained, it was just, give us $20 and here's your license that says you're a wrestler now. That was the two places that Adam was, Wicked, as he's known in wrestling.
Wicked.
Yeah.
And he sang his own entrance music, and that was badass.
It really was wicked. He is also indie rapper, like in the southern Indiana, Kentucky area.
If you're into psychopathic
if you're into like horrorcore type music, he has his own show, Grand Theft Audio. He does like music with
probably has his own like Bandcamp account. And
yeah,
stuff like
I'm pretty sure they have a Bandcamp or Reverb.
You were on a track that he did.
Yes, years and years ago, I was on a Christmas track where I insulted my friend Cage Cutler, also an indie wrestler. Made references to him having STDs. It was fun times.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no alleged. That's definitely true. But anyway, this time frame. So this is the end of the year. I didn't go to SHW until February of 2010. Because they were taking a couple months off for the winter. They're coming back.
Because, the pole barn is just a pole
barn.
There's
no heat.
There's no heat. There's no AC, as we will get into later.
Yeah.
Our trips to... I thought I was having a heat stroke.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no heat. They got to take off the winter because they can't have shows in there unless you want to freeze your titties off.
Yeah, you literally have to take 2-3 months off. Coming back with a big death match, every show was some form of death match tournament. Because that's all they did. I was the one guy who did straight wrestling. But this is end of 2009 still.
You did not do homosexual wrestling.
No, straight wrestling.
You were not trying to be Darren Young.
No.
I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding with all that.
Yeah, support to Darren Young.
Props to Darren Young.
Bentley and Maniwa Variety Show flies the rainbow flag. We are allies. But anyway, end of 2009, I'm going to the LCW building. He, of course, tells me that I have to get my license. Joey Culp, as he's known, Jay Hollywood, lets me know that I have to get a license, of course. So as long as he signs for me and says that I will be training at his building.
Yeah, the crazy thing with the commission is you can't get in a ring in Kentucky without a license.
So you can't be trained until you already have a license.
How ass backwards is that?
Yeah, because once you get the license, nobody references that you have any training. It's just, okay, you have a license, cool, whatever. You can work my show. And I get that, and in the first couple of weeks while we were waiting to get the license back, this is October, November, I'm just, bumping outside on the mats, doing rolls and stuff, and I had done Taekwondo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and martial arts my whole life. That was the closest thing to wrestling that I had. So that's what I always poured my efforts into because my school didn't have an amateur wrestling team. I didn't get to go to as much indie wrestling as I wanted to because my parents didn't like to travel that much. So martial arts was my pro wrestling. So I'm out there, bumping around, flipping, doing stuff on the mats, and they're just blown away, that I already know.
You have some sense of a clue.
Yeah, I already know how to do more than all of them combined. Which was the sad part because they're all literally untrained. None of them had training except for Wicked and Cage Cutler.
Right.
They were the only two. They came out. They were the two voices of reason in the locker room. Everyone else was just backyarders and friends.
Right.
So I go out there. I give Jay Hollywood $150 that's for 3 months of training. It was $50 a month. The training started out as Jay Rush, not Jay Hollywood, but Jay Rush.
Of Banana Boy fame.
Yeah, head trainer and wrestler tries to, hey, do you know what an Irish whip is? Yeah, I know what an Irish whip is. Okay, let's practice those. He proceeds to grab my hand like he's giving me a handshake and tries to shoot me off. And I said, no, that's wrong. It's like this, forearm to forearm, medieval handshake. He's like, no, well, you can do it either way. And,
which is false.
Yeah.
There's only one way to grab someone for an Irish whip. You can do the take. You can
do it wrong.
Yeah, which is what he was doing.
So I immediately just said, well, no, there's not. There's only one way. This is how we're going to do it. And I proceeded to run everything at that point. I did my own. I taught myself how to bump. I ran the practice matches that we did. I was like, hey, everybody, let's get in here, do this, do that. Let's have a 6-man, let's have an 8-man. Let's everybody do singles. Somebody get a camera and set this up.
Before their show, they would practice every single match.
Yeah, everything. That was the thing that Jay Hollywood, the guy who was running,
choreographed.
He wanted the whole thing 100% planned out. He wanted no room for error.
Which that gives all the room for error if there's everything planned out
and you have no audible.
Right. Which I at the show
he was there. He saw it happen.
I saw it. I unfortunately went to a training seminar with Reed Bentley before we were even friends or anything.
Yeah, we were just knew each other.
But at shows you see stuff that would happen. It would be crazy. They wouldn't know what to do, and they would literally just stare at each other and go,
Yeah, that's the thing. They weren't learning how to work, how to wrestle. It was, so, from that point on, I realized from the first day on, I'm basically paying $50 a month to
get in this ring.
I'm paying for a privilege.
And then when did, because Cash Flow of IWA Mid-South fame came. He Cash Flow lives in the area.
He literally lived 3 minutes from the building.
He knew that he had heard there's a wrestling ring over here. He knew what was going on.
He was like looking to get back in, or had just got back in.
Yeah,
and was like doing some shows.
Yeah, he had moved to Washington or something like
Washington
that.
State. Yeah.
And he was coming back, and he was trying to get back into it. IWA wasn't around. He wasn't doing a lot of local shows, so he was just trying to get back into something. And
as soon as I, met him, that was the guy that I, was married to the hip at.
Right.
Like, hey, Cash, this is the day.
You would say that for your training, he was the one that taught you.
Yeah, Cash is the guy that taught me my basics.
Right.
I got my basics in with Cash. He, polished everything, do this when you bump, or, little things like this. He got into, like, the very beginnings of, like, trying to work on psychology with me and, like, forming a character. And eventually he couldn't take it anymore because Jay Rush, the aforementioned Jay Rush, would constantly undermine him or try to talk over him. And mind you, this is just like a chubby guy shorter than me who like works at Walmart during the day. Like he was literally he's a backyard wrestler. And would just attempt to undermine him. And Cash was just like, whatever, I'm not getting anything out of this. He stopped coming to the trainings and stuff. That went on all the way, November through January, November, December, January, February rolls around. I start SHW runs back up. So myself, Cage Cutler, and Wicked that had been coming out there, we all traveled to the SHW shows together, and I started doing those. So that was basically the very early workings. As soon as I got in there, I realized I'm gonna have to, I'm in here rolling around, kind of trying to teach myself what to do.
Right.
Until Cash came around. It was good experience still, even though none of them really knew that much what they were doing. It was still guys there. There were still
don't.
Most of them still don't. Yeah, there's a couple of guys like Pat Cross, who's like
Pat Cross is an awesome dude.
I think he wrestles his real name now is Pat Gorman.
Yeah, I don't even know if he's wrestled.
PJG. Has a super a ton of potential,
and he just
doesn't
wrestle.
Do
yeah, he just doesn't wrestle.
It's like Homer and Too Sweet, the guys that used to do like IWA.
IWA Ring Rentals, these guys used to blow people away, but when Ian would say, hey, do you want to be on these shows? Well, we just want to wrestle each other. Well, you can't just wrestle each other for the rest of your wrestling career.
That's what they were comfortable with. I think they were brothers, right?
Yeah, they were brothers.
Yeah, and so, they backyarded for 10 years. They knew each other. They went in and out. Like, they knew how to do everything. Spanish flies to the floor and just,
crazy stuff.
Avalanche ranas and crazy things. But, they just weren't into it. That's kind of like Pat's story. He was the one guy that I saw at the first show, which we will get into, besides Reed Bentley and Cage Cutler, that I was like, this guy has potential. He reminded me a lot of Eric Cannon, not just because he was a chubby dude doing cool stuff, but you could see that he had a lot of potential. Another guy, Colin Holmes, which, he's working IWA now, and hopefully his first match in 2 years was last month against Jack Thriller.
And it was super awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was the perfect opener for that show.
A guy who myself and Maniwa were glad to see back. We went to bat for Colin a few times. We got him into the IPW Super Junior tournament.
He burnt us.
He burned us.
Just canceled off of that. We got him
and literally dropped off the face of the map.
We got him a redemption opportunity in December.
When Insanity Pro was still running.
He was going to be at the School of Rock show in December. He stopped replying to emails in October, and no one had talked to him since then until last month at IWA. Yeah,
I literally dropped off the face of the map, but hopefully he comes back. He used to have a real good tan and be in some respectable shape, so hopefully he gets all that back together, because the kid can, if you haven't watched, I don't think the July show's out yet, right? So
I think it is out.
Is it? Okay, I knew that.
I don't know if it's on Smart Mark yet.
Ian's got it, though. IWA itself is shipping copies.
If you want to wait for Smart Mark, it might be up now as this is being recorded. I'm not sure, but
yeah,
Simply the Best 9. It's the opener of Simply the Best 9. Dude is very reminiscent of early Ricochet before Ricochet went to Japan or got
only he's probably a good foot taller.
He's a lanky son of a bitch.
He's really tall and lanky, and he can do. Now, mind you, this LCW training center that I'm mentioning, this was an old auto parts store, an auto repair building. It was set up in the back where it was nothing but a concrete floor and extremely low ceilings.
Right.
To the point where if you wanted to do like a split-legged moonsault, your head was hitting when you were sitting on the top rope, and he would still come in there and manage to pull his flips off. I've seen him do springboard imploding 450s. I've seen him do, like ridiculous like 630s and all kinds of
impressive stuff.
Crazy flips. So he's got a super fuck ton of potential, for lack of a better word. As far as I know, we're not trying to have a family-friendly podcast.
No.
Okay.
We can curse on this. Jacarson always loves when people ask, "Can I curse on this?" So we can curse on this.
We can curse on this.
We can curse on this.
Say hi, Nick.
Hi, Nick.
Okay. We've got a couple more questions to go, or not even really questions.
No,
We've got a couple more talking points. That pretty much wraps up all that, honestly. SHW, timeline of Reed Bentley.
Well, we're going to go through it once we talk the history of Maniwa and Bentley.
Yeah.
We're going to go in depth with all the random shows that we went to. We're going to go on Facebook and Twitter and look at our
archives, yeah.
To literally look at every single thing, because, people think, Maniwa and Bentley known each other forever. I only met him in April of 2010, or was it March?
It was April.
April of 2010, I saw him on that first LCW show.
Right, not quite 3.5 years.
Right.
But we have, spent 360 out of the last 365 days of every year together.
Right.
So, things like that tend to happen thanks to wrestling, Nick Maniwa. Nick Maniwa, luckily for him, got to meet the two most important people in his life because of wrestling. Myself, Reed Bentley, and his brother-in-law, Ian Rotten. Not Jess Beasley's his fiance. She's also she is throwing stuff at us now.
I disagree. Jess Beasley's, and then Trick Davis is the second one.
Second
most important person I've ever met in pro wrestling.
I'm so offended.
Some other random talking points. Me and Bentley and Jess Beasley's. Jess, say hello.
Hello. Jess Beasley's.
No. Okay,
she messed it up.
Yeah, she messed it up. She messed up the...
Kevin Steen is so offended.
She messed up the escapades. We saw World War Z yesterday, the Brad Pitt movie at Dollar Movies.
No, we didn't, go to like a real movie theater to see it because we are some broke motherfuckers.
$3 to get in, and
$5.50 for an extra large refillable bucket of popcorn.
That's how they get you.
Yeah.
But that movie was pretty awesome.
It was awesome, starring and produced by Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was real good.
If you haven't seen it, I would definitely check it out. I don't know if it's probably gonna hit Redbox in like the next.
It's got to, yeah. It's gonna be hitting soon. I've read the Zombie Survival Guide, which was by the same guy, Max Brooks, and it was real good. I liked it. I haven't read World War Z, but World, as I said, World War Z. But yeah, the movie was awesome. We really enjoyed it. We had a good time.
Right.
It was a different kind of zombie movie.
It was like...
It was 28 Days Later fast zombies, like it was running zombies.
Right. And it was like, the whole time we were like, what's the cause going to be? Like,
yeah.
How is this going to... It wasn't like you knew, like, we literally had no idea what, the swerve or whatever was going to be.
A few minutes in the movie before it's actually revealed, like once Brad Pitt has like flashbacks of like image, and he starts putting things together, you can you see like, okay, maybe that's what it's going to be. And it's really good. It's a super good story. As far as like zombies go, I liked it because it was almost like what was infecting them, the virus itself, or the whatever you want to call it, that was infecting them and causing this. That was the villain. Like it wasn't like you didn't even look at the physical zombies as the bad guys. It was what was controlling them, almost like they were just drones to like the disease inside of them, which is kind of a different take. I liked it. It was super different.
2 thumbs up for me.
Mm-hmm. I wish I had 2 more hands so I could give the titties in World War Z 4 thumbs up.
Sadly, there's no nudity.
Yeah, there is not, unfortunately.
And, we're getting to the end of this, but we want to run down the SummerSlam card. Obviously, it's happening tomorrow. We're filming this on the Saturday before.
Yeah, it is currently
7:01.
7:01 Eastern Standard Time, Saturday, August 17th.
So, we're going to talk about SummerSlam, and then next week when we record one, we'll talk about if we...
What happened?
Yeah.
I unfortunately have not been getting to catch Raw much lately because I'm working on Monday, so I do not get to see. I've not got to see Raw for the last few weeks, but I kind of stay filled in.
Right.
So I'll let you kind of handle.
We'll start from the bottom. The kickoff show, which is the pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
Dean Ambrose defending the U.S. title against RVD.
Yeah.
RVD won a battle royal on Monday to get the title shot.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be an awesome match.
Yeah. In my opinion, I was actually over here on a Monday for once, and or was it Monday? Yeah, it was Monday, and no, it was RVD and Randy Orton killed it.
Yeah.
That was Raw, right?
Yeah, and then they had that awesome three-way on SmackDown the week before.
Yeah, it was super good. I don't remember what the deal was why I was actually available on a Monday, but it was Orton and RVD, and I was not expecting it. I came into it because I didn't get to see RVD's comeback really at the pay-per-view. I just had seen some stuff in TNA in the last year, the 2 or 3 times that I regretfully turned TNA on, and just got a terrible Snapchat of Alex Castle. God, he looks like dog shit. And
the thoughts and opinions of Reed Bentley are those of Reed Bentley and not of anyone.
It's of everyone else. They're too afraid to say it because he's a vampire. They're afraid he'll bite them. But yeah, I was not expecting much. I was like, okay, yeah, RVD's been sucking ass and he was bloated in TNA, but then he's came back and he's been killing it.
If he takes the finisher, the headlock driver,
oh, he's got to.
He's gonna kill himself.
He's gonna take it all Ophidian. It's just gonna be fucking straight up and down.
And I don't know if this is on the official card. It was on the listing that I found. Natalya versus Brie Bella. I don't know if that's on the show or if it's on the kickoff or whatever.
I mean, it might be today. Is it an access match?
It might be an access match.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. This is I assume just for Total Divas to get all the, whatever on that. It'll be fine.
Which has been fine so far. What we've seen.
Total Divas. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick Maniwa to see my live tweets of Total Divas. It is the perfect garbage reality TV show.
It's 10 times funnier because it's wrestlers. It's not just random people you don't
It's
know.
not. It's Real World is awesome because it's strangers living in a house together doing whatever.
Yeah.
But this is
to us who are already wrestlers and wrestling fans, seeing wrestlers.
This is Daniel Bryan saying, "Bitch, we're moving to Phoenix."
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Cough attack from Ray Bentley. The women's match will be fine. Cody Rhodes against Damian Sandow. This match will be really good. I wish the fans were more into it.
Yeah, I feel like they're popping, but I feel like for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just the crowds they've had or what, I think the internet seems to be super into it. Everybody...
I don't know if WWE's given them the ball to run with yet. It seems like they're teetering, what are we going to do with these guys?
Yeah, are we going to end it or are we going to let this keep going? Yeah.
But I think they're going to have a great match.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes is stupendous. So is Damian Sandow.
Yeah.
The one Raw where after Cody stole his briefcase, where he came out and said, "Cody, damn you!" Literally killed me. I could not breathe from laughing so hard.
That's the new hotness right now is damn you. Just say someone's name and then damn you. That's the new thing.
Next match is Dolph Ziggler and Caitlyn versus Big E Langston and AJ Lee. You see the feud. This is the feud, Dolph.
Which I think is going to be super good. I really think it's going to be fluid. The story's been there. Caitlyn's been kind of off lately.
Caitlyn's the rocker and hardcore thing for Caitlyn just makes me think she's lazy, kind of.
Yeah.
She just comes out and is like, "Woo, I'm doing the rock metal hand thing."
Yeah.
And then that's
it was really bad on SmackDown.
Yeah.
He's I'm not a Caitlyn hater. I enjoy Caitlyn.
I enjoy Caitlyn and I enjoy her face and her body, but
I would like to enjoy it in person. But as far as she was super lazy on SmackDown. It looked like it was the most lackadaisical. Take a couple of steps, throw her hands up.
Right.
Take a couple of steps, throw her hands up.
You're at the dance, man. You gotta be happy that you're there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know she's trying to be tough and everything, but you can be tough and still ooze charisma. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's all gonna be. I think it'll be fine. Big E's awesome, Dolph's awesome, AJ's been she's the best broad that the
AJ
Fed's had in
AJ
years.
against Bailey next week on NXT.
Yeah.
It's going to be incredible.
And what else is it? Isn't it Claudio and Generico?
Yeah.
2 out of 3 falls?
Antonio Cesaro against Sami Zayn.
Yeah, whatever.
Reed Bentley straight from Tumblr. I will only call people by their former names.
That is not at all the case. That's just what comes to mind. Like, I follow people on Tumblr whose URLs are like Sami Zayn. I'm like, well, that's not Generico, so it confuses me.
Yeah, the NXT next week should be awesome. If you're not watching NXT, if you're that stupid,
Yeah.
you got to get on the train. It's the best hour of wrestling every week, bar none. Not hyperbole. It's awesome.
Hyperbole?
Sure. Next match, Kane versus Bray Wyatt in a Ring of Fire match.
Which we still don't know what the Ring of Fire is, right?
I think it's set up like the Inferno match, but you don't have to. I think the Ring of Fire is kind of like a lumberjack match.
It's just to keep
the family out.
So they're not trying to burn each other like with the Inferno.
No. You can't
You
can't burn people in the PG world, in this post-Benoit world.
Look, Linda, your political career is floundering at best.
Linda McMahon, if you're listening to this, please hire me. I'll do anything. I will change your socks.
I'm totally kidding. Linda McMahon is, she's a great woman. I've met her several times. We're close personal friends.
But anyway, this Ring of Fire.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it might be something set up on the outside. Like, I don't know, are they going to, if it's different from an Inferno match, are they maybe going to have fire on the outside, like on the perimeter instead of on the apron, maybe?
Well, the last Inferno match they did, MVP against Kane, they had the people, pushed way back. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
They had, the front row to where, it was in the fifth row almost from the fire and stuff.
Because it's super hot. Like, obviously, anyone who's ever been to a WWE
the
live show.
Even just
Kane's
Pyro. I've heard
team.
stories, tag team. I've heard stories of people you don't think, you watch it
I
on
was
TV.
at Backlash in 2006 when God wrestled McMahon in the Rap Arena.
MOTYC.
It was MOTD. It was of the decade. And
no, it was it was the McMahons against God and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, it was against God and Shawn Michaels. God was involved. He was. I'm aware of him. And I was legit. We won tickets. I wrote some kind of an essay, and me and my cousin got better tickets than the ones my family had already bought. So we moved down by ourselves. And
just left your family.
Yeah,
up in
because
cheap
whatever, fuck them. And we were up we weren't on the floor. We were maybe 10 rows back in the actual staggered seating,
right?
And you still felt it hit you like a fucking wall. Kane's Pyro is.
So I can only imagine what the Ring of Fire is going to feel like.
Yeah, it's going to be brutal.
Bray Wyatt's killing it, still killing the promos every single week. The one on SmackDown was a little bit weird. I don't know if he
needs to just not wrestle, because he's going to end up wrestling and he's going to get hurt or something, and it's just going to all stop.
He seems like he's injury prone too. So hopefully
he is the Angelus Lane of the Fed.
Kane, I guess what the rumor is, Kane's going to be written out to do See No Evil 2, so hopefully this is a big win for Bray Wyatt. I heard they're pushing him super big. That's Triple H's a new pet project. So, the last two were Sin Cara and Karma, and you saw how well those worked out. So hopefully Triple H attaching his name to the Wyatt family doesn't hurt them.
Yeah, which is weird. I know, Kong got hurt or whatever, and then got pregnant.
Yeah, she got pregnant. That was the problem.
I thought she got hurt and then got pregnant.
No, I think she got pregnant. I think she just got pregnant.
Oh, okay. And, I don't know why they didn't bring her back, because it would have been sick. I thought they still could have brought her back, especially because she kind of got a pop at the Rumble that year when she was the surprise entrant. And I've never been for Mystico. I bought, a $5 Mystico DVD that's all in Spanish at Walmart one time back when I was a kid, because I'd always heard about Mystico. And it didn't impress me. I've never liked him, so, Sin Cara, fuck yourself.
I hate the Sin Cara mood lighting.
Yeah, terrible.
Next match is Del Rio versus Christian for the WWE or for the World Heavyweight title. Christian, since he's come back, he's asked for one more match, which is one more title match.
Yeah,
this is his title match. He won that match. I think it was Christian, Randy Orton, RVD in that 3-way, and maybe a 4-way or something. I don't know. Who cares? He's in this match against Del Rio. Del Rio's without Ricardo Rodriguez now. I don't know if I think that personally hurts him a little bit.
Yeah, I do too. I really think that now he's just a guy.
Right.
He's got. I mean, Del Rio is good, especially since he came back from injury. About a year ago? He came back, and what I'd heard was that Vince apparently told him his strikes were just he looked like a pussy. So Del Rio started beating the shit out of people, and all his shit looks real good now that he's actually killing dudes. Like he's got a good short super. But I mean, he doesn't have anything that really sets him out. Like he can't really talk. He needs a mouthpiece because his accent is still prevalent. Like he's just a fed guy doing.
He's hit or miss with the promos, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, Christian. And your theory is,
I would like to see Christian wins. Sandow comes out,
immediately cashes in,
wins, and leads to one more for Christian because he got fucked out by the Money in the Bank briefcase. He's like, I won, I had it in my hands, I got screwed.
So you're thinking Christian wins, and then immediately after maybe
boom, Sandow cashes in.
But do you think Del Rio hit something?
Yeah, I think like Del Rio puts him down, Sandow cashes in. And then it's Christian chasing, for 3 or 4 months.
Right. That would, but I don't know.
Until Survivor Series.
I don't know if they're done with Cody and Damian yet, though. See, that's the only problem that I think they might not do it. Next match is a match I'm personally looking forward to. I'm curious to see how it's going to go. It's the Beast versus the Best. Brock Lesnar versus CM Punk.
Yeah. I think it's going to be good because everything I've seen, Punk, Punk's not a small guy, but obviously standing
everyone
next to Lesnar,
is small.
He looks so small, and he's just out there just beating the shit out of him. He doesn't stand there and let the Brock Lesnar aura intimidate him from doing stuff like some guys do. The oral?
Yeah, from Brock Lesnar.
The oral, stimulating oral from Brock Lesnar.
But Brock Lesnar whooped his ass a couple times on Raw, and then Punk got him back on Monday. They hit his music, and then Punk came out of the crowd, grabbed a camera, and whooped Brock's ass or whatever.
And seeing him hit the GTS on Lesnar would be sick, because he's so big.
But is Lesnar just going to grab his knee and put him in the stretch muffler and then break him in half? That would be sweet.
Yeah, and then what's Sammy's name down in Florida?
I don't know.
I thought I heard he had one.
No, I think that was just a rumor. That was just a rumor.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say then Sami Callihan makes his surprise pay-per-view debut
and runs in, and then Brock Lesnar just stomps him like a bug.
Kills him. No, I think it's gonna be awesome though. It's definitely it's a good mix.
I wish. I don't know if there's I don't think it's no DQ or anything. So
I don't think there's just.
I think it's just a straight match, which
might kind of hurt it honestly. With Lesnar.
because Lesnar, all of his matches have been.
It might be then, yeah.
All of them have been no DQ or a street fight or something like that.
Which would be good because, like I said, Punk's just he's taken that take no prisoners attitude. He's just flurry, bop, 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 hit, not letting off of Lesnar. So it's nice to see that he's giving it right back to him. He's not just getting hit and, selling away.
When they brought Brock back, that's a tongue twister.
Brock
back.
Brock back. Brock and Ryback. Brock back. God, could you imagine that tag team?
But, people were like, oh, if Punk ever turns on Heyman or whatever, they would never do Punk and Brock because it's just not believable, blah, blah, blah. But I think with the build-up they've done, I think it's totally believable.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's when you think about it, Punk has, in the last 2 years, waffled so much. He's one of those guys that just, when he decides he wants to be a good guy, he is the good guy. And when he decides he's a heel, he is the heel. It's weird how many times he's waffled.
And pancaked.
Yeah. And craped.
The main event, hopefully it's the main event.
Will not be craped.
Well, no.
Waka.
John Cena against Daniel Bryan for the WWE title.
Which I'm also super interested to see that.
Man, they have been killing it. The segment on Monday, one of John Cena's definite best promos. It definitely
that's what everybody's been saying.
Some pay-per-views. We'll definitely watch it here after we finish this podcast. But, man, it sold some pay-per-views. Cena just gave it all to Bryan. Bryan gave it all to Cena, too. I'm so incredibly happy they did not try to bring the Bella Twins in on this, which I thought they were going to do with Total Divas. I was so bummed that, but it is kind of overbooked with Triple H as the referee.
Oh, is Triple H the referee?
Triple H is a special guest referee, which it might be okay, it might not. Vince is involved.
I was gonna say Vince has got to get involved because of the hair thing, right? Shaving.
He doesn't see Bryan as a champion. That's why he's kind of involved.
So how did Triple H get interjected? Because I missed.
Brad Maddox was originally going to be the special guest referee.
And he got taken out.
Sweet ass pedigree.
Yeah.
Hashtag tag team. But hopefully Triple H and Vince don't take too much away from this match.
Yeah.
I really think this could be as good as Cena and Punk was at Money in the Bank that year.
Yeah.
That match was electric. It's in LA, so
I think it'll be good. Everything Vince has been involved in, like, in the last couple of years has been hot fire. Like, since he finally kind of took a step back
right.
and wasn't in everything, he's really picked and chose his spots real well. Like, when he comes back, it's always for something that gets a super good reaction.
Now, and people are thinking that Bryan wins because supposedly John Cena needs surgery on his elbow or something like that. I mean, they did a promo and John Cena showed his elbow and it just looked totally gross. It was on par with Adam Cole's elbow.
His is like bone chips, right?
Yeah. It was
bone chips, if you've never had them, are gross. Our good friend of the show, Matt Cage, is afflicted with some gnarly bone chips. They are not fun.
They're thinking that Randy Orton's going to come out, cash in on Daniel Bryan, and then be a bad guy and win the title, which hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm hoping if Daniel Bryan beats Cena for the WWE title, he just beats him and he become, he's the WWE champion.
Yeah,
he runs with it. Could you imagine if American Dragon was the WWE champion? Yeah, he won the World Heavyweight title. People call that the SmackDown title.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's really what it is, yeah. It's like Punk. Punk was a world champion 2 or 3 times over before he was the WWE champion.
Could you imagine if Daniel Bryan had the title that The Rock brought back, that Cena won from The Rock, and then he won it from Cena? Could you imagine?
Yeah.
That would be insane.
Mind-blowing. It just goes back to 10 years ago. Never in a million years. It was like this week. Drake was on Raw this week and SmackDown. Never in a million years. Like, if Drake is like a guy who's like getting looked at, which he is super deserving of, like, all bets are off.
Right.
Like, all
indie guys need to step their fucking game up and get in
no
shape.
More appearance standards, no more, if Drake can do it, anyone can do it.
Absolutely.
Not due to a lack of skill, but
look at the
pure background.
At the Performance Center, they need guys constantly. So all indie guys need to step up. Generico's gone. Antonio Cesaro's gone. So all these indie guys that were the man on the indies, when they left, who's gonna be the one that steps up? Drake Younger steps up. He's already got he got extra work. He got beat up by Ryback on SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Elgin can't be our face for forever. Elgin will be gone soon, I have no doubt. Elgin is like the man right now. Like, he's, arguably him, Drake, and Steen.
Steen, definitely.
Without a doubt.
Once Drake, if Drake does get signed, we both have no inside knowledge.
At all.
We speak to Drake on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. We don't talk to him on the daily. But, what if he did get signed? Who's going to take Drake's spot on the indies? Drake's tearing it up right now.
Yeah, that just leaves another gap. Because, like, right now, when you think indie wrestling, like, Drake's the guy who just kind of came up. Elgin is also kind of filling that spot.
Adam Cole, Kevin Steen.
Cole, but, like, they're the, Steen, Drake, and Elgin are kind of the guys who are, like, coming up to fill those roles. Steen, in my opinion at least, is still, like, at the pinnacle. Like,
Steen and the Young Bucks are probably the top of the indies.
Yeah, the top singles and the top tag team, hands down. You can't, Steen's been at it on top of his game for years, and especially now that he's had so many peers, that are out of the way. He is just so much on hot fire, running with it, it's crazy.
But yeah, that segued off of the Cena versus Bryan match.
A lot. Yeah, we're real bad about those segues.
Yeah, but I really hope Daniel Bryan wins the title. That would do my heart. My heart would just be so happy with that.
Yeah, 4 years ago, like I said, this kind of brings the podcast full circle back to our first conversation.
Yep.
4 years ago, I was standing in the sweat box on the fairgrounds in Dayton, Ohio. If you've ever been there, it's a hot building. Talking to Brian Danielson, telling him, I wish you all the best of luck, man. Like, we're gonna miss you. I want to be a wrestler. You're my inspiration. Flash forward, 4 years, not a decade, not 8 years, not 6 years. 4 years ago, he was just thinking in his head, what am I going to do when I get to Florida? Like, how's this going to go? And, 4 years from then, right now, he is, in the main event. Like, it's absolutely mind-blowing.
And I think with that, we're going to wrap this thing up. We already went over time a little bit, but
it's okay. You guys like us.
This is the variety show, not the variety hour. So
yeah, we had to tweak the name because we knew that we are both long-winded. Right. And we talk a lot, so
hopefully you guys enjoyed the last episode because that one was so much fun, and there was like a 20-minute chunk that accidentally didn't get put on, which had hands down the funniest part of the whole interview. Which it's a damn shame that it wasn't on because that part we both laughed hysterically at it. That will be on the next Mitch Page episode we do, which will be soon because I want to hear the stories Mitch Page has.
Yeah, it's fun talking to Mitch. Mitch is it's like this. The reason myself and Maniwa, the reason we wanted to do this is because, we're real life best friends. Like, this is super conversational for us. This is literally, if the microphone wasn't on, these are the same kind of conversations we'd be having. Yeah. Same things we'd be talking about, only there would be fail compilations and the best vines of August playing on the TV.
Right.
While we were doing it. That's the only difference. So
Bee's Knees might talk more.
Yeah,
she could have talked.
She could have talked, but she's just sitting over there, thinking about stupid wedding and stuff coming up here on October 5th. Nick Maniwa, just Bees.
And I told all you assholes not to take any bookings, but you did anyway. You fucking
I'm the only one.